Hi and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today I'll be doing a review and a tutorial of a G-Shock, Casio G-Shock GA 1000. But before I do that, I just wanted to let you know if you're using PayPal for your transactions, please check out my video about them changing the conversion options, because I can see that a lot of people are affected by this and you're losing money that you don't even know. So please check out that video. I'll put a link here. And another thing, just like on every other video that I make, in the description you will find the table of content with time codes, so you can skip to different parts of this video or different functions of the watch, so you don't have to randomly search for them or watch the whole video. And now we'll move on to the watch itself. The GA 1000 is part of Casio's gravit-master series, or aviation-inspired watches, and all the models in this lineup are characterized by a pretty legible analog display, as you can see with the 3, 9, 12, and everything is in high contrast, and some models are pure analog and some are analog digital like this one. And as you can see, the digital display is also pretty stealthy, so that the legibility of the analog part is really high. And I like watches like this that are easy to tell time and that you can tell the time at a quick glance, and with this one that's really the case. Now there's a lot of models in this lineup, but this one has two distinct features that separate it from the others. Some have parts of this, but none of them I think has both these features, and these features are written right here. As you can see, it says twin sensor and neon illuminator. The first one is shows you that this watch is equipped with sensors, and as you can see, it has this comp button here, which is a dedicated compass button. So the watch has a compass and it has a thermometer, and I will show you in detail how both of these work. And another thing that this watch has, which says the neon illuminator, is actually the thing that I like the most about this model. Ever since Casio introduced analog G-Shocks and normal models, the legibility in the dark of these models has always been a bit on the low side. Because the lume they use is really nothing spectacular. It's like not even comparable to Seiko Diver's lume and such. And also when they use the light function, because they're all battery operated, that is usually executed in a pretty bad way. What I mean by that is that they usually use an LED that casts a light on the whole display, and with G-Shocks that have these leveled displays and all the structure inside, it makes it almost impossible to see the hands at once, but you have to look for them, because let's say my friend has a GA 100 with a black background and dark blue hands, and when you press the button on that, when you press the light button on that model, the color of the hands and the color of the background in complete darkness looks almost the same, because it has that amber colored LED, and it's really not easy to tell the time at a glance in the dark. And then a couple of years ago, Casio introduced this neon illuminator, and I think they first introduced it on an Edifice model. I don't remember which one was it, but when I saw that technology, I was really thrilled that they remembered to do that, and I was kind of hoping that they're going to spread it to all of their analog and analog digital models, because it was really a huge leap forward. But unfortunately, they keep issuing models that have the normal LED built in, and they're missing out a great opportunity to make incredibly legible watches in the dark. Fortunately, this model does have that technology, and I'm going to try to demonstrate, but I don't know if my camera is going to be able to show it correctly, so I will put photos if this doesn't work the way I'm supposed to. So let me just first charge the watch, or the lume of the watch, because like I said, the lume itself is better than on other Casio watches, but it's still a bit far from Seiko Divers. So we'll just charge it up real quick. And now the neon illuminator technology works in a way that it does have an LED, but now this is the normal as you can see, lume, and it's pretty okay. And now when you press the light button on a normal Casio watch, you would just have a huge amount of light, not huge amount of light, but an colored light on the whole display, and you would have really hard time reading the time. But on this one, they use actually a black light or a UV LED that only accentuates the lume and parts of the watch that were painted by UV reactive paint. So let me just cover it a bit more, and there. As you can see, when you press the light button, only the important things that they want you to see are accentuated. And with each press of the button, the lume gets charged a bit more. So it's really an incredible way of reading time in the night. And like I said, I will put photos if this doesn't look as good as it should, as it looks in real life. Because in real life, it's really incredibly readable and it really looks cool. And I'm sorry they don't implement this in more models. They do, like the best thing that they did is on the, I believe it's called PRW 7000, their top of the line ProTrack model, where they use this neon illuminator with the lume of the analog part, and then the digital part has its own backlight, where here the digital part doesn't have any backlight, just like on other analog digital models. So in the dark you can only tell the time, but at least on this model you can really tell the time easily. And these are two main things that this G-Shock to me is one of the best analog models out there. Now when it comes to the watch itself, on some other things, the watch is very bulky and big, but because of this these hinges here and the strap going almost vertically down, it actually looks good. Even on my small wrist, when I put it on, it's not overwhelming, although it is 50 something millimeters lug to lug, but like I said, it's pretty wearable. And since it's a G-Shock, it doesn't matter even if it is a bit large and bulky, because they're all like that. Okay, so now we'll go through the functions, and then we'll go in the tutorial part where we're going to cover each function and how it works and how to set up. Okay, so you go through the functions with the mode button, and you have the home screen. You have the world time with 31 time zones and 48 cities. You have a 24-hour stopwatch and a 60-minute timer and 5 alarms, where it has 4 regular alarms and 1 snooze alarm. And also over here you can turn on the hourly chime on or off. And you're back to the home time. Now this is when it comes to the watch functions. When it comes to sensor functions, while in the home time, pressing the lower button will activate the thermometer function, and as you can see, the temperature is displayed here. And the thermometer, I'll cover that when we get to the function itself, but you'll see that it has one bad side that you need to take into account when reading the temperature. Pressing it again goes back to the timekeeping mode, and you have the compass function. You activate it with the dedicated compass button. The seconds hand will be displaying north, and wherever you point, the 12 o'clock is written here in which direction you are and the degrees. And that's it. With the mode button you go back to the mode, to the home time. Also, no matter in which function you are, pressing and holding the mode button for 2 or 3 seconds will take you back to the home time. Okay, so now let's cover all the functions and how to set up the watch and everything. Okay, the first thing that we're gonna show is the home time. As you can see, while in the home time, the analog part of the watch is always showing you your home time zone. So no matter what function you're in, you can always read the time. The digital part over here displays the hours, minutes, and seconds, but it can also display the dates, and you change that by pressing the adjust button. So the digital display can be set up like this to display the month and dates, or like this to display the current time. Also here in this upper one, you have the day of the week, and you have different functions displayed here, but you will see them when we start to play with other functions. This is the status, whether they're on or off. The little thing here, the one that's going and counting seconds right now, is here in the timekeeping mode as an eye candy, but in the compass it's actually used for your bearing readings, but we'll get to that. And this one, this smaller one lower, here underneath, as you can see, you have these two small little lines. If you look carefully, you'll see that it actually reads from 0 to 24, so it's actually the hours in the day. And the one that's blinking is showing your home time zone, which is 1648 or almost 17. And as you can see, it goes 12, 14, and here it's 18. So it's actually displaying 17 right now. And this one that doesn't blink, it actually displays the time zone that you selected in the world time function. So currently our world time function is probably displaying 5:49. So 5 in the morning, 5 a.m., which is why this little line is here. It's a cool feature, but it's pretty hard to read it at a glance because it's very small. But it's good that they put something here that it's not just blinking without any function. Okay, so this is when it comes to the home function, and you have this function wheel that actually physically turns and it displays which function you're currently in. So like we said, while in the home function with the adjust button, you change what you want to read on this digital display. You can activate the light, as you can see, and with this button you can activate the thermometer, and that's it. And with this, no matter in which function you're in, you can activate the compass. And we'll go back, and that's it. Now to set up the watch, you need to press and hold the adjust button, and the watch enters the adjusting mode. While you're in this mode, you change the values. Now the light button is not used for light, but it's used to decrease the values, and with this button you're increasing the values. With the mode button, you're going through different values. So the first thing that the watch offers is selection of the time zone that you're in, and you need to select this correctly and set up the time correctly for that time zone, because all the other cities in the world time are being calculated based on this. So you can go due east or due west with these two buttons. So this is actually west and this is east. You select your time zone that you're currently in, and that's it. Pressing the mode button moves you to the next setting, and this is the DST, which means that the daylight savings time can be turned on or off, which is a summertime. Since we're in the spring and the summertime is currently on for our time zone, we'll put the DST on, and as you can see, the time is changed accordingly. So whenever you have to switch from winter time to summertime, and whenever everybody has to move their watches, don't move it by changing the hour setting, but just turn the DST on or off. So currently it's on. Pressing the mode button again, you go to the 24 or 12-hour display. So here you can change whether you want to have it displayed in 12-hour format or 24-hour format. I like this one better, so let's leave it at that. Okay, next one is the seconds. If you reset them after 30 seconds, like now, the minutes move by 1 up to, let's say, 52. Or if you reset them by pressing this lower button, if you reset them before 30 seconds, the minutes will stay the same. So you can sync up the watch correctly to the atomic clock. Pressing the mode button goes to hours, same thing, going up and down. Minutes, same thing. Then you go to the year, it's displayed here, month, and date. And this is when it comes to the time. Now pressing the mode button, the watch goes into the, you can see the key tone, which means that over here you can activate the mute function. You activate all with these. So now the mute is activated and mute is written on the status screen, and now the watch won't make any noise when you use the functions and press the buttons. We'll turn it off. So this is now the watch will make the sound. Okay, pressing the mode goes to the light setting, so you can select whether you want the backlight to be on for 3 seconds or 1 second. We like the 3, so we'll leave it at 3. And pressing the mode cycles back to the selection of the home time. Pressing the adjust button exits the setting. And this is it. You've set up the watch, and now even the world time function is correct because you've set up the correct time for your time zone. Another thing that you can do in the home time is you can activate the automatic illumination system. So By pressing and holding the light button for more than 3 seconds, you will activate the automatic light, and the little LT will be displayed in the upper, in the status screen. So you can see this LT, and how this works is, it works that you level the watch and then you tilt it to your face and the light will come on. And now I'll show you just in a second. We'll show it in the dark. Okay, so the watch is level, you tilt it and it activates. And it goes off for 3 seconds. So level, tilt it to your face, and it activates. And since this watch is not solar, but it uses a conventional battery, in order for it to save the battery, the automatic light will turn off by itself after 6 hours. So then you have to activate it again if you want to use it, because this watch can't tell whether it's in light or in the dark, unlike the solar watches, which have full auto EL, where once you turn on the automatic illumination, it stays on indefinitely. So to turn it off, you also press and hold the light button for more than 3 seconds until the LT disappears, like so. Okay, so now moving on to the next function. It's the world time function, and as you can see, the status wheel just moved to the WT, or world time. And as you can see, it's actually 6:54, so it's 6, and you can move through time zones with these two buttons. So just like when you were setting up your home time, actually no, you can move it only with this button, and this one is still used only for the light. So you can only go in one direction, unfortunately. And as you can see, the little line that displays the world time goes through time zones as you move, and the blinking one still displays your own time zone. So whichever time zone you select, it's going to be displayed here, and once you're in the home time, this little line is going to display the approximate time for that time zone. And another thing that you can do in each time zone, and for each time zone individually except for GMT, is you can turn on or off the DST for that time zone, and you do it by pressing the adjust button. So press and hold the adjust button, and it activates the DST for this time zone, and as you can see, the time has been adjusted accordingly. And you can turn it off also by pressing and holding the DST. And that's it. And that's it when it comes to the world time. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the time swap function, and that's a shame. And like I said, the home time is always displayed on this analog part. So when you're in the world time function, this watch can be used as a dual time or GMT watch, because as you can see, you can read the second time zone here and the main time zone on the analog display. Moving on, we have the 24-hour stopwatch. You start it by pressing the lower right button, and you stop it there, and you reset it with the adjust button. Or you have the split time. You can start it here. Pressing the adjust button freezes the stopwatch, freezes the screen, but the stopwatch is running in the background, and pressing the adjust button resumes it, so you can take a reading. And you have the first and second place if you have two runners. When the first one goes through the finish line, you press the adjust button, and when the second one goes through, you press the stop button. You read the time and write the time of the second runner. Pressing the adjust gives you the first runner, I mean the second that went through the finish, and pressing the adjust button again resets the stopwatch. And that's pretty much it. And the hours are displayed here, so the hundreds of seconds are displayed for the whole 24 hours. And pressing the mode button goes to the timer. It has a 60-minute countdown timer. You start it by pressing the lower button, and it will start from 60 and go down. So it's a 1-hour countdown timer. When it gets to 0, it will beep for 15 seconds or until you press any of the buttons. And you can reset it, and you can set up the timer just like the alarm and the main time. You press and hold the adjust, but you can only change the minutes. You cannot change the seconds. So it's changeable down. You can set the timer down to a minute, and you go up and down with these two buttons. Pressing the adjust exits the setting, and now you can, again, like I said, start it, stop it, reset it. Pressing the mode, we go to the next function, and the next function is the alarm function. And like I said, it has 4 alarms plus 1 snooze alarm, so it's 5 alarms, and the hourly chime is also toggled on or off here. To turn the alarm on or off, you just press the adjust button while you're in the alarm. Let's say if you want to turn the alarm 1 on or off, you go to AL1 and you press adjust button and it toggles it on or off. And this ALM here is going to be displayed if any of the alarms is turned on. So at least one alarm, if it's turned on, it's always going to display this ALM on the status screen. You go through different alarms by pressing the lower right button. So you have the alarm 2, the alarm 3, 4, and you have the snooze. If you turn on the snooze alarm with the adjust button, now the SNZ is also going to be displayed here. And that means when you see this displayed, you know that when the alarm goes off on the watch, even if you press a button or you let it ring all the way, it's going to repeat itself after 5 or 10 minutes, I'm not sure. So it's going to keep repeating itself until you go into the alarm function and physically turn off the snooze alarm like this. And the next one is the hourly chime, which means that on every full hour the watch is going to beep. So you turn it on also with the adjust button, and when it's turned on, you will have the SIG displayed here. And that's it when it comes to the alarm. You go back again, like I said. The alarm will go off at midnight like this, or if you want to set it up for any given time, you press and hold the adjust button and you set it up just like the time. So you can set up the hours. Pressing the mode moves to the minutes, and you set up. When you're finished, press the adjust button, and that's it. And since the hourly chime is turned on, the watch should beep now that it reaches exactly 5. There, you just heard it. So this is because the SIG is on, or the hourly chime. And that's it when it comes to the alarm. Pressing the mode button goes back to the back to the home time. Okay, so now to the sensor functions. The sensor functions are 2. One is the thermometer. You press the lower button and it gives you the reading, and that's it. But the problem with the thermometer is that the heat of your hand gets transferred to the watch, so it displays a higher temperature than it should. So if you want to make an accurate reading, you need to leave the watch on the side or somewhere away from a heat source for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, it's not going to be correct. And while in the thermometer, you can calibrate it by pressing the adjust button and holding it. And there. And now you can change the calibration of the reading. If you have, let's say, an accurate thermometer next to you, you can adjust it with these 2 buttons. You move up or down. Pressing the mode button while in the adjusting or calibration mode lets you choose whether you want the temperature in Fahrenheit or degrees centigrade. So that's it when it comes to the thermometer. Pressing the adjust exits the calibration, and pressing this lower button exits the thermometer. And the next function and the last function of this watch is the compass. Pressing the compass button, you activate the compass, and the watch will read the direction for 20 seconds. And as you can see, the seconds hand displays north, and the direction of your watch where you're pointing is displayed here together with the degrees. Now you have to keep it level or it's not going to read pretty accurately. So that's why I'm tilted like this. Okay, and another thing that the compass has, and as you can see, 20 seconds have passed and the compass has reset itself. Pressing the comp again just resumes the reading of the compass needle. Like I said, it's not accurate now because I'm holding it like this. The other thing that I wanted to show you that this watch has is the bearing. So, but let's just try to move the camera a bit more level so that the watch reads accurately. Okay, like this. Now we'll just reset the compass. So let's say north is there, but you want to go somewhere else. Like let's say you want to go in that direction. You don't have to be remembering which degrees were written or anything, but just pressing the lower button will store that direction here. It will say that you want to go at 62 degrees, and while you're pointing at that direction, this one here is filled out. See, now you're going in the right direction. If you deviate on any other direction, you can see your desired direction with this little line here. So as you can see, let's reset the compass. So this line is where you want to go. So you just tilt you correct your direction until you reach the full screen. when you reach the full screen, you know that you have to go in that direction. So it's a pretty cool feature, because let's say if you walk in the forest and you set a course, if you deviate from the course, the watch will display that you need to correct your direction of walking. And as you can see, it's still, if you go beyond like this, it will display this little arrow here so that you have to tilt it back to return to your course. Also, if you go into the other direction too much, it's going to display the hour to return back to this direction. So it's a pretty cool and nifty feature. And like I said, it lasts for 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, you have to reset it, but your direction is always stored here. So no matter how many times you reset the compass, it's gonna still guide you in the right direction. To clear this, you just press the lower button again. So now we've cleared the bearing, and the compass just displays the direction where the watch is pointing. If you want to store another bearing, you just point at the dot that you want to go to and press the lower again. It remembers that direction, and like I said again, it's gonna try to correct you by showing you where to turn on this little display. So it's a pretty cool feature. The other thing that I wanted to show you is how to calibrate the compass. Just like the thermometer, the compass can also be calibrated. To do the calibration, you press and hold the adjust button while in the compass mode, and the watch enters the calibration mode. Now you hold the watch level to the ground and point in one direction. Press the comp button, and the watch will start doing its calibration, and once it displays OK, it's gonna tell you to turn the watch 180 degrees in the other direction by pointing the hour downwards. So you now turn the watch 180 degrees and press the comp again. And now the watch is gonna repeat its calibration in the other direction. If everything is OK, it's gonna display OK here in this little screen. If it's not OK, it's gonna display the ERR or error, and you have to repeat it. But this one just did it wonderfully. So the other thing that you can do in the compass in the calibration mode is, when you enter the calibration mode, pressing the mode button moves to the magnetic declination setting. So let's say if you're using topographic maps, which are very precise and are for a small area, some of them come with a magnetic declination written on them, which is the difference in degrees between the magnetic north and the true north. So if you have a map that says that has a displayed magnetic declination, you just enter it in this mode. You can go due west or due east in degrees. So whatever is written on the map that you're using, just type it in here, and you're gonna have a pretty accurate reading of the map. And that's it when it comes to calibration of the compass. Pressing the adjust exits the calibration, and pressing the mode gets you back to home time. Okay, and the last thing that we need to do and show, let's get my camera back to the comfortable position. The last thing that we're gonna show you is how to correct the hands on this watch. If any of the hands is not showing correctly where they should, if you see that the analog hands are not following the digital time, and this sometimes does happen with this watch, especially this model. I mean this model, especially this exact watch, because it's from a colleague of mine, a forum member, and he says that he sometimes has trouble with the seconds hand not following the seconds of this. When you see that, you need to correct it. And this is something that I've seen happen to a lot of analog and analog digital G-Shocks. So I think they're having a bit of a problem when they're using hands for different functions. It's not a problem on older models that use the hands only to display time, but on these newer models where the hand is used for compass or reading some other things, they do have problems that once it does its job as a compass needle, when it returns to being a seconds needle, it returns to the incorrect position. If you notice this, you just need to do the recalibration of the hands, and you do it by pressing and holding the adjust button, but not 3 seconds to get into the adjust mode, but you keep holding it for more than 5, and then it's gonna display HT here, I believe. So or HS hand setting. So press the adjust and hold First it's going to offer the adjust, but you keep holding, and now it's H set, hand setting mode. And now you see the first one is displayed the second's hand, and over here it says 0, 0. All the hands have to display, have to point to 12. So you can correct it by moving it left and right with these two buttons. When you've corrected it, you can press the mode button, and now the hands that are next are the minute and hour hand. And you just have to wait for the watch to do the full circle and align them at 12. If they're not aligned, again, using these two buttons, you just correct it. We're just going to wait for it to finish the spinning of them until it reaches 12 o'clock. And like I said, analog digital watches, G-Shock watches that have these advanced functions sometimes do have problems. However, if you buy a watch that says tough solar or tough movement, that means that it has an auto correction system where every time when the 5 minutes before a full hour, the watch detects its hands and does the correction by itself. But this one doesn't have the tough movement, so you have to do it by yourself. Okay, and as you can see, we can move the minute and hour hand. They're connected with this button. So once you've aligned everything, you press the mode button again, and now we can align the little functions wheel. As you can see, it's moving here and there. Once you've aligned everything, you press, and when you're aligning this, the sub is displayed here because it's a sub dial. Okay, and when you've aligned everything, you press the adjust, and the watch will resume operation, and all the hands are going to be aligned correctly. Well, thank you for watching, and this has been pretty much everything when it comes to this watch. I would like to thank fellow forum member Pimpy1980 for lending this watch to me, and thank you again. Hopefully you will get it soon. Sorry it took this long to do the video, but I had some other how do you say it, obligations, and I didn't have time to do this. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps someone, and I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please like and share, and until the next watch video, bye.